The story is called Milestones. My mother baked her heart into a pie to serve at my brother's 12th birthday. He's autistic. She shouldn't have done it. My mother is the kind of woman who cleans when she can't solve a problem. The house was spotless right before I went into rehab. Displaced feeling is the crux of her emotional life. She blames me for Cody's birth, for his disease, if that's what it is. She started knitting when I tried to talk to her after getting out. She went through 3 sweaters before I gave up. Her house looks like it's from a catalog, but in her heart, nothing is where it should be. It's been 12 hard years, and it's going to get worse. Cody has a crush on the neighbor girl, Jean. We found out when her father called to say he'd call the police if Cody didn't stop looking through a window. Who, besides a mother, is ever going to love him, no matter how hard he wants it? When I think of it, I can't look at Cody. I don't have the strength to take care of him. My own friends, when they were teenagers, learned never to talk to me about how nobody loved them. I was a mess, and everybody loved me. I don't understand how you can ever feel lonely when there's so many lonely, pretty people out there who will do anything you ask if they think you're looking at them sincerely. My brother's going to be taken advantage of his whole life by people like me. Mom knows it.
Excuse me, folks.
So she bakes.
Gonna have to move this.
I stopped by for dinner.
I'm sorry.
There were no other kids there, not even the other special ones. Deep down, we don't believe you escaped the plague by hugging other sick people.
Yeah, if you all sit on one side,
we have left.
thanks very much.
We ate cake. Cody blew out the candles as though we were a normal boy, as though a fairy had turned him from a block of wood into someone we could talk to. And then Mom brought out the pie. She divvied it up. 8 people there, everyone got a piece. She looked at us pleadingly. We all said what we were supposed to, except for Cody. Only he had the courage to tell the truth. "This tastes like shit," he said. It's a word he picked up from HBO. We couldn't help it. We all laughed, except for Mom, who cried. Except for Cody, who put his fork down, sat still, and wondered what all the fuss was about. I'll miss him when I finally abandon him, when I finally can't take anymore.
Sorry, guys.
That was Milestones. Our next kind of miscreant comes in a story called Next Stop. The vagrant, he had to be a vagrant, walked through the open doors of the bus and past the driver, clutching a day's old pizza box. His baggy denim clothes were stained with something thicker than grease, his face a mess of sunburns on top of acne scars. The driver didn't ask him for a fare. There were 5 of us on the bus. It was nearly midnight, the witching hour, as my grandmother would have called it back in Ireland, and we all knew better than to talk to someone like this. You never knew what kind of trouble you were going to open up with a conversation. He stumbled as the bus started to move again, climbing up the hill. He nearly fell on the blonde girl in the skinny jeans, trying to stay awake. The pizza box came dangerously near her hair, but he righted himself and kept walking. He passed the others, the black man in a suit, the pair of Hispanic college kids carrying a bag of golf clubs, without a look. No, he didn't even look at the golf clubs. When he saw me, on his way to the empty seats 2 rows ahead of me, he stopped for a moment, and his eyes twitched. He was staring at my clerical collar. I get that a lot, and I tensed, wondering if this was going to lead to something, to an angry shout about God or abortion or the church's position on gay marriage, or maybe what his childhood priest had done wrong. I found myself hoping, as some distant memory fluttered behind his eyelids like a movie projector running slightly too slow, that he didn't notice my purple socks, or didn't know what they meant. For a moment, I even considered telling him it was a costume, for a party. With such little provocation was I tempted to renounce my Lord and salvation. We are all too easily afraid. His eyes blinked. Whatever he had seen, whatever he had been seeing was gone, and his stare was empty. He took the seats up and across from me, and the bus passed the next 2 streets without stopping at all, since no one was waiting. The tense fog that had settled over the bus when the vagrant walked in began to lift, until he started to sing. "Where have you been?" he half sang, half spoke. almost muttered melodically under his breath. Where have you been, my blue-eyed son? Where have you been, my darling young one? That's Dylan, I realized, perhaps as everyone else on the bus did. Early Dylan. Ya da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, the vagrant continued. Ya da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It was still the same tune, but there were no words. We, the witnesses, avoided looking at each other as we all stared out of the corners of our eyes at him. But the vagrant looked around at us, and it's hard, 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 hard. It's a hard rain's a-gonna fall. He half sang the chorus like he meant it, like he knew something we didn't. The tense fog was back. We held our breath in it. Then, what did you hear, my blue-eyed son? He half sang the question quietly again, as though the lyrics were occurring to him for the first time. What did you hear, my darling young one? The bus pulled to a stop. The door opened and a very nervous Asian woman in black leggings and revealing top stepped on the bus. She was wearing a spiked collar. Her hair was purple. You could see from her face that she immediately felt vulnerable, standing out in our small, frightened group. The vagrant cast his eyes on her, but didn't stop his song. I heard da-da-da-da-da-da-da. She sat down right at the front, as far away from him as possible. His voice roared for a moment at the challenge, and it's hard, 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 hard. It's a hard rain's a-gonna fall. He took a deep breath. Who did you meet, my blue-eyed son? Who did you meet, my darling young one? That's all he knows, I realized. The beginning of the verses and the righteous prophecy of the chorus. But he doesn't know any of the words that connect them. He's stuck. He's going to go on like this forever. But I do. I do know the words. Long before I was a priest, I was a singer. If I search back far enough, unrolling my life like a scroll, I'll find the words he's looking for, printed clearly. And it's hard, 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 hard. It's a hard rain's a-gonna fall. What do I do with this? What do you see, my blue-eyed son? What did you see, my darling young one? He was jumbling the order, reaching for something he couldn't grasp. He knew it, too. His eyes, glassy and vacant, were also a little panicked. He understood that whatever he had to tell us was not coming through clearly. I had 6 more stops to endure, and then I could get off this bus. Ya da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, the vagrant offered, his voice sinking and rising again to no avail. Ya da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Trying to stop his singing, trying to do anything, would be every bit as dangerous as demanding that he pay a fare to ride. Safety demanded silence. And it's hard, 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 hard. It's a hard rain's a-gonna fall. Admitting our common bond of humanity would have been nothing but trouble. We had to play it safe. But I didn't. The same way that I took a vow never to touch a woman again and promised to be poor. The way I swore to dedicate my life to he whose love can save us all, even if, as I sometimes suspect, he didn't exist. I took a leap of faith. Where have you been, my blue-eyed son? He half sang, half mumbled, on his endless track. My voice was loud and strong, filling the bus as I joined him. Where have you been, my darling young one? We sang it together, almost in harmony. He turned, he stared, his eyes fluttered, his mouth twitched. He clenched his fists and crumpled the cardboard pizza box in his hand. My heart pounded, almost in my throat, as I offered the words he had been searching for. I've strayed on the side of 12 misty mountains. I've walked and I've crawled on 6 crooked highways. I've stepped in the middle of 7 sad forests. I've been out in front of a 12 dead oceans. Been 10,000 miles in the mouth of a graveyard. We sang it together, and it's hard, 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 hard. It's a hard rain's a-gonna fall. Silence descended. The bus stopped in the middle of the street. The driver looked back, opening her mouth, almost saying something. The vagrant nodded. and the pizza box fell to the floor. He looked far away. "Help me," he whispered. "I can't go on like this." "Call 911," I screamed as he collapsed to the floor.